Hey everyone, so XRP sitting at $2.82 right now as I'm putting this together. How's everybody holding up out there? Look, I get it. You might want to have a little laugh about this whole situation, right? But honestly, by the time we wrap up here, if you're feeling a bit rough about things, I think you're going to feel way better. Trust me, there's really no reason to stress about this. I'm just messing around a bit here. But seriously, I've got some solid commentary and analysis from 11 different XRP chart experts. And get this, pretty much everything I'm sharing is from today. Like almost all of it is literally from the last few hours. We're talking fresh off the press reactions to what's been going down. Now look, I'll be straight with you. Yeah, XRP took a hit. But guess what? The whole dang market did too. Just take a peek at live coin watch. It's like looking at a red ocean out there. This isn't some XRP only disaster. There's nothing fundamentally broken with XRP. It's just one of those market-wide things, you know? And sure, we keep dropping. Now we're at $2.81, which probably feels pretty rough. But before we dive deeper, let me throw this out there. I'm not some Wall Street guy or anything. Zero financial background here. I'm definitely not giving you financial advice, and you absolutely shouldn't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I'm saying. I'm just a crypto enthusiast who loves making these YouTube videos as a hobby. It's honestly just for the fun of it. Bitcoin's not exactly crushing it either. It's down to $112,742. But hey, let's put some perspective on all this craziness. So check this out. I grabbed this post from chart analyst Galaxy, and while he's talking about Bitcoin, I had to share it because it really puts things in perspective, you know? Here's the deal. Every single time we hit one of these rough patches, what do us regular folks do? We start panicking, getting all worked up, losing sleep over it. They can distantly try to join Straff. But here's what's wild. This stuff happens all the time. This is exactly why I keep telling you guys to expect these roller coaster moments in crypto. We've got 16 years of data showing us this is just how it works. So when crypto does what crypto has literally always done for the past 16 years, you know, being totally normal and volatile, why are we acting shocked when our portfolios take a hit? That's just the name of the game. Look, maybe your net worth dropped. Mine sure did. Took a pretty big hit, actually. But you know what? So what? The whole trend has been upward. Not every single year, obviously, but cycle after cycle, this entire asset class has been climbing since day one. So why would I flip out just because sometimes my portfolio tanks when overall I'm invested in something that keeps growing over time? The price dropping doesn't mean everything's broken and we're all going to zero. That's not what this means, people. Clap, clap. You know I'm being serious when I add the claps. Galaxy made this great point. Every dip since $30,000 was left behind and never talked about. Chances are this one will end up the same. Take a look at this chart going back to early 2024. See all those dips? Notice how often they happen? And I guarantee you, for every single one of these drops, there were people somewhere on this planet losing actual sleep thinking it was the end of the world. Every single one. Did that make sense though? Looking back now, was all that freaking out worth it? Did it help anyone? Or was it just, well, kind of pointless and irrational when you see how everything actually plays out? So here we are in another one of these moments. What do you think's going to happen? My guess, this thing's probably going to keep trending upward. Just saying. All right, so here's what chart analyst Mustache just dropped on us. He's looking at something called the Total 3 chart. Basically, that's everything in the top 125 crypto coins except Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're talking about all the altcoins, which is what you're seeing on your screen right now. And Mustache had some pretty reassuring words for everyone. I see a lot of scared people out there. Don't look at the lower time frame. Macro is what counts, folks. He's basically saying, stop staring at those minute-by-minute charts that'll drive you crazy and zoom out to see the bigger picture instead. Here's the really interesting part. He's pointing out that Total 3 has formed what's called an inverse head and shoulders pattern, just like it did back in 2021. And get this, it's already broken out of that pattern. Even better, the retest is done too. His take, this is just a dip before it goes higher. And honestly, I'm totally on board with that thinking. That scenario seems pretty darn likely to me. Here's another gem from Mustache that's pretty eye-opening. So he's showing us the Tether dominance chart. Basically, how much of the total market cap is just people sitting in Tether, that stablecoin everyone parks their money in when they're scared. And guess what? It's breaking down. Now think about this for a second. Why would Tether dominance be dropping? It's not rocket science, right? When people stop hoarding stablecoins, where does that money go? Straight into the stuff we actually care about, altcoins. Mustache put it perfectly. Soon people will understand that this correction is a gift. He's pointing out that Tether dominance just broke out of the 7-month pattern called an ascending broadening wedge, and it broke to the downside. Right now, it's just doing a little retest of that breakdown, which is totally normal. But here's the kicker. Once that retest is done, altcoins will go crazy again. And honestly, this makes total sense. People have been sitting on the sidelines in stablecoins waiting for the right moment. So here's what Chart Analyst Cryptos posted this morning. Let me give you some context first. When he wrote this, XRP was trading higher than it is now. Back then, it was sitting around $2.93, and now we're down to $2.81. So yeah, things have slipped a bit since his post. Here's what he said. If this support doesn't hold, we are in trouble. We need to close an hourly candle above the red to see a recovery. That red line he's talking about, it's sitting a little over $3. I'm thinking somewhere around $3.02 or $3.03, something in that ballpark. Now, to be fair to the guy, he's actually been calling this potential breakdown for a while now. He's been giving everyone heads up that we might see some weakness. So honestly, I got to give him credit. None of this is really catching him off guard. It's not like he thinks this is the apocalypse or anything, but he's been keeping everyone updated as things have been playing out. So frankly, what we're seeing right now isn't exactly shocking if you've been following his analysis. Also, let's be real here. We haven't actually hit the levels he's been warning about yet. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Heck, maybe the price is even lower by the time you're watching this video. I honestly have no idea. You guys watching this are basically time travelers compared to me right now. You know way more about what happened next than I do. So here's something interesting. I came across this post from Lev Crypto back on July 29th that I actually shared when it first dropped. We're talking just a few days ago, but man, his timing was spot on. He called out how XRP was starting to look pretty tired on those shorter time frames. His chart analysis was pointing toward a dip down to around $2.60 before we'd see the bulls charge back in. Now, don't get me wrong, this guy's still super bullish long-term. He's talking about XRP potentially rocketing past $5. But here's what made him stand out. He actually warned us about this potential pullback when hardly anyone else was calling it. We haven't quite hit those lows he mentioned yet, but honestly, we're playing out pretty close to what several analysts were hinting at in the days before this all went down. I remember covering this in some recent videos where we talked price action. A handful of analysts were throwing out the possibility, not saying it was guaranteed or anything, but they were like, hey, based on what we're seeing in the charts, don't be shocked if XRP slides down toward that $2.80 area. Look, when Bitcoin and the broader market start heading south, this kind of thing just happens sometimes. It's really not the end of the world, you know? Check this out. Dark Defender just dropped a post where he's pointing out that XRP basically nailed that fourth wave dip he was tracking on the daily chart. And you know what? He's got a point about calling this back on July 29th, 4 days ahead of the move. Now, I've got to be fair here. He wasn't exactly the only voice in the wilderness on this one. Credit where credit's due, though. He did flag it early. He's got this screenshot backing up his call, and he was specifically warning about that $2.85 level. But here's the thing. There were actually several analysts floating around similar numbers in that ballpark, and I made sure to highlight those calls when they came out. Some of these folks were even talking about this possibility before Dark Defender's post. Perfect example. There's this chart guy, Greg Crypto, who just posted this morning at 10:46 a.m. with one of those classic, I hate to say I told you so moments about XRP. So get this, here's a post that actually goes back even further, all the way to July 23rd, 2025. This analyst was basically saying, look, $2.80 absolutely has to hold with a full candle body above it, or we're looking at a potential wick down to $2.34. They were also talking about $2.65 as this really solid structural support level that needed to hold for the next big move up. But here's what's really interesting. They made this bold prediction about August being the month that would ghost the price, claiming nobody else in the space was calling out this bearish possibility back on July 23rd. Pretty confident statement there. You can actually see the original post they're referencing. I won't dive into all the details, but it's right there backing up their timeline. Look, the reality is there were definitely some sharp analysts who caught wind of this potential scenario, and I've been trying to cover these different perspectives as they come up. At the end of the day, nobody's got a crystal ball here. It's all about weighing probabilities and possible outcomes. Here's something fresh from Dr. Cat. She's calling for this correction to wrap up somewhere between August 2nd and August 4th, with 278 acting as solid support if we actually test it on the 3-day chart. Man, that's pretty precise timing. And honestly, with XRP sitting right around $2.81 as we speak, we're literally talking about maybe 3 cents of downside cushion here. Pretty tight range to work with. Let's see if her analysis holds up. What I keep noticing though, and this is really important, is that even when these chart analysts are calling out potential dips or corrections, they're not suddenly turning bearish on the bigger picture. Not even close. Every single XRP analyst I follow maintains that optimistic long-term outlook. It's like they're saying, hey, we might see some short-term choppiness or pullbacks, but don't confuse that with the overall trajectory. The fundamental story, the bigger trends, the major catalysts, none of that stuff has been derailed by what we're seeing right now. Chart analyst CW just dropped some interesting insights about XRP. He's spotting a solid buying wall sitting right between 250 and 275. What does this mean? Well, there's apparently a bunch of eager buyers just waiting in the wings at those price levels. You know how it goes. While some folks panic when prices dip, there's always that group of savvy traders who see dollar signs instead of danger. These are the people who will be doing a little happy dance if XRP drops to those levels, thinking they're snagging a sweet deal compared to where it was trading just recently. It's that classic one person's fear is another person's opportunity situation playing out in real time. Chart analyst X-Force Global just posted something pretty bold. He's calling XRP a one-way ticket to $4 plus and says it's happening very soon. His take? This might be our last shot to load up before things really take off. He's got this chart pattern called a WXY formation that he thinks he's nailed. And even though XRP had already dropped to around $2.83 when he was putting this together, we're sitting at $2.81 now after bouncing around a bit. He's not sweating it one bit. And honestly, that's the thing that really stands out. These seasoned analysts who've been in the crypto game for years, they're completely unfazed, like zero panic. This kind of movement doesn't even register as concerning to them because they've seen this movie before. Look, I get it. Watching your investment swing up and down can feel like a gut punch, but here's the reality check. This is just how crypto works. It's not going to magically become smooth sailing from here on out. These dips and pullbacks, they're part of the package deal. The key is understanding that while some people see these moments and hit the panic button, you don't have to be one of them. Getting spooked by normal market behavior just doesn't make sense when you step back and look at the bigger picture. We're still heading in the right direction overall. It's just not going to be a straight line getting there. Chart analyst Zoom just dropped his latest take, and he's sticking to his guns. He says XRP's lower time frame wave 5 is wrapping up, and he's still calling for $6 to $8 XRP by August. He posted this when XRP had already slumped to $2.93, and it didn't shake his confidence even a little bit. What's really interesting is that back on July 25th, this same guy was one of the few warning that we might see some downside, but he drew a line in the sand at $2.80. So far, that level seems to be doing its job as support. A lot of analysts keep pointing to that same zone. Now, sure, support levels can break, but the fact that multiple people are watching the same area tells you something. Now, look, she's totally upfront about this. No analyst really knows the exact timing. They're all just making educated guesses based on what they're seeing, which is totally fair. But here's the thing, we're pretty deep into this cycle already. So honestly, it's not that crazy to think XRP might have its final explosive run during that time frame. Could it take longer? Absolutely. But given where we are right now, that timeline isn't completely out of left field. She's got this whole setup showing XRP potentially hitting $6.50, and this was from this. What's really interesting is that pretty much every analyst who's been around the block is staying bullish on this. If you've been in crypto for more than 5 minutes, you know that kind of consensus usually means something's brewing. So there's this amazing chart analyst called Matsby, total legend. I shared this yesterday, but it's definitely worth bringing up again. He's saying XRP is basically setting up shop on its 886 fib level, building this rock solid foundation before it's ready to absolutely rock it. Look, even if we see some dips, that's totally fine. We're still constructing something massive here. Bottom line, this isn't the time to panic. We're building something big. So my buddy Alex Cobb from YouTube dropped some real wisdom. He's like, hey everyone, just zoom out for a second. Remember a month ago when we were scrapping it out at $2? Now look at us fighting at the $3 level. By end of August, we'll probably be duking it out around $4. And honestly, he might be spot on. We'll find out soon enough. You can either feel pumped about this or join the panicked XRP crowd that's basically losing their minds right now. Your call, what makes more sense to you? Me, I'm just going to keep being my usual ridiculous self. Oh wait, it just dropped to $2.77 while I'm finishing this video. Whatever, let's see where this thing lands today and over the next few days. Everything I just said still holds. I couldn't care less how far it dips. Look, nobody's got a crystal ball here, but here's the thing. If you're just a regular speculator like me, and trust me, there's nothing special about me. I'm literally just some guy on the internet. None of this short-term stuff really matters. This is just how it goes. This is classic crypto market behavior, period. I've been riding every single XRP wave since 2017, and guess what? Never sold a single coin. I'm telling you straight up, this stuff doesn't matter in the long run. XRP's fundamentals are stronger than they've ever been. The whole war on crypto, that's done. Global liquidity is climbing, M2 money supply is rising, and we all know Bitcoin and crypto follow that trend. I just don't see any reason to freak out here, folks. I really don't. Oh, and obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't buy or sell anything because of what I'm saying. That would be a terrible, terrible idea.